We all have songs, we all have stories, we all have good times and times when things go wrong. And that's life, the heartache and the glory. The heartbeat of life is in our stories and our songs. The heartbeat of life is in our stories and our songs.
Here in this sanctuary of ancient dreams and wisdom and beauty, we come to grow, to heal, to stretch our minds, to stretch our hearts, to be challenged and to be renewed, to be helped in our own continuing struggles for meaning and for love, and to help build a world with more justice and mercy within it, to be counted among the hopers and the doers. In the face of cynicism, darkness, and brutality around and within, we seek to align ourselves with a living community that would affirm rather than despair, that would think and act rather than simply adjust and succumb. Here we invite the spirit of our own humanity and the healing powers under, around, through, and beyond it to give us the nerve and grace, the toughness and sensitivity to search out that truth that frees and the life that maketh all things new. Good morning. My name is Pam Romancic. I'm a queer, white, cisgendered woman whose pronouns are she and hers. I serve this vibrant church, and I'm also somebody who loves to cook up a big pot of soup, especially in weather like this. Whatever identities you bring with you today, you are welcome here this morning. As you came through the door, I hope you got a penny. We're getting close to the end of our month talking about stories, and so today I want you to look on your penny and see what the date is. And think of something that happened during that year, some story you haven't thought about for a very long time. You know, I happened to get 1979. That was the year I graduated. Really easy year. But you could get a year sometimes in the middle of some block of time that you have no idea what happened, and it'll make you really, really think about that time. And when you come up with a story, I want you to think about it and share it with somebody later on during the coffee hour. This is the time to share our stories. So ask somebody what their story is and share yours.
The chalice lighting this morning is by Reverend William Schultz, and it's entitled Renewed Universalism. Surely, one of the things about religion is to remind us not just that we are free, but that we each will die. Not just that we are different, but that we each are subject to grace and capable of praise. If we are to overcome nationalism, economic exploitation, and a cumulative mentality, we require a religious proclamation of that which binds us to one another, to the earth, and to the holy. We light our chalice this morning to proclaim our connection in love and light. My name is Ellen Vinzanti, and my pronouns are she and her. Our church shares a covenant that we make with one another, a promise that helps to remind us of why we gather and how we want to be with one another. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in saying our covenant together, and remain standing for our opening hymn. We unite to strengthen the bonds of kinship among all persons, to promote human dignity, to increase reverence for life's creating, sustaining, and transforming power through worship, study, and service.
I'm going to invite any young and young at heart up front as we begin part of this with the story. But first we start with the wonder box. So the one thing you can say is it won't be a squirrel. But I invite you just to imagine what might be in this box today. Just think. Let's take just a few minutes to think about it, to imagine all the things that might fit in this box. A penny. That's a great gift. Guess? Any other guesses? What could be in the box this morning? It's a kind of a hard day. What could fit in one? 14 pennies. That's a guess. Any other guesses? Yes, Rich. Maybe a flower? That's a great guess. Any other guesses this morning? A scarf? Good guess. Yes, nobody would want to give up their scarf this morning, that's for sure. Okay, would somebody like to come and open the box? Who would like to look into it? You want to look into it, Will? Okay, you can look into it. Okay. I think it's kind of it's one that's fooling people today. Can you hold it up? What it is cookies. So we'll pass up. The cookies are there to remind everybody to go down the hall to the RE program. Because if you want any dessert today, after the potluck, the dessert's going to be all the way down the hall. Because we want to highlight all the great things that our kids are doing down in the RE program. And there's going to be some curriculum. There's going to be all kinds of things. So go ahead, when you get your food, head down for your dessert. And now I'm going to invite Reverend Karen to come up. There she is. She's always hiding. And tell the kids a story this morning.
Hi, everybody. So, is anybody here 6 years old? Anybody? Okay. awesome. You're 5, you're almost 6. It's very close. Do you know, when I was 6 years old, I can keep my hand raised, like legitimately, and these people will laugh. When I was 6 years old, my family lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Does anybody know where Milwaukee, Wisconsin is? It's sort of north of here. Maybe, yeah, it's a little bit north, and it's over by the lake. Do you know where Lake Michigan is? Yeah. So if you went over to Lake Michigan, and then went north, you'd hit Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We actually lived in a place called Wauwatosa, but just like if you're from Chicago and you're someplace, or from Palatine and you're someplace else, you're going to say you're from Chicago. So we lived there, and we were driving around downtown, in a car, and I was in the back seat because that's where kids sat. And it was 1967, like ancient times. Dinosaurs were still not alive, I'm sorry. But, it was very, very long ago. And we passed by, we were in the car, and we were all sitting there. And the next day happened to be my birthday, which is in the summer. And we passed by, and out the window on the side of the car, we saw all of these signs. Seemed like thousands, millions of signs all written there. It was just amazing. And one of the signs said, "Tomorrow will never come." And I, of course, as the 6-year-old, was a little put off by that because that was my birthday. Tomorrow will never come. Let me show you, right? But the signs were there. It was the summer of 1967. Does anybody know what happened in the summer of 1967 around the country? So in the summer of 1967, some people were so mad. They were so mad about how people were treating one another that they put up signs, and then, do you know what they did? They did something that Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel said. They prayed with their feet. We don't talk so much about prayer here, but Rabbi Heschel said that when you protest something, you're actually putting out a prayer with your feet into the world. So these people had put up all those signs, all of them, including one that said, "Tomorrow will never come," because they were going to pray with their feet the next day and say, "No, we disagree. We don't agree with how people are being treated, and we're going to stop that." And part of the reason that, do you all have school tomorrow? No. Is anybody off of work? Yeah. Just a few, yay! Why is that? Do you know?
No. Yes.
What?
Because tomorrow's, I forgot.
It's what?
Tomorrow's Monday.
Tomorrow is Martin Luther King Day. Does that help you to remember?
Tomorrow's Martin Luther King's birthday.
Yeah, tomorrow is Martin Luther King Day. And so we remember now, millions of years later, all of the work that people did, like they did that summer when they put up a poster that said, "Tomorrow will never come." And do you know what? I and my family have been 6 years old ever since. I don't look 6 years old, but to my family, I will always be 6 years old. Because you know what? When we see things and we start telling stories about them, it's really interesting. We can capture and grab back all the things that we have, that we know about the world. And so today, we tell stories about Dr. Martin Luther King, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, because he was such an important person, and he inspired people to put up signs, including ones that said, "Tomorrow will never come." And here's the funny thing. Do you know, if you saw the sign today, if you were driving in the car and you saw "Tomorrow would never come," I wonder what you would think about that sign. And I wonder what you would think it was referring to. Right? 50 I'm not good at math. 50 some years ago, that meant that people were mad about and protesting the way that people were being treated. If we saw that sign today, it might mean something else. That's why we tell stories, though, because stories grow with us, they stay with us. I'm always 6 years old, and they help us to know who we are and who we want to be. Okay, so let's go back and we're going to learn some more about stories with stories back in the RE section. Okay.
As you go on your way, may you be filled with gladness. Go in joy, go in joy. May fortune bless this day with peace and loving kindness. Go in joy, go in love.
Giving is the ultimate way to ensure a true richness of spirit. Without giving, we're watered down, lost in the flood of our self-focus. Sharing our wealth ensures that this community can continue its mission to create belonging, inspire curiosity, and heal our world. The offering will now be gratefully received.
This song, Hope in a Hopeless World, was originally done by Pops Staples, Chicago music royalty, father of Mavis Staples, who is a close confidant, friend, and fellow protester with Martin Luther King. So it's appropriate on the holiday level, and it's also appropriate for the times that we're in, because hope may not be a total strategy, but it is a prerequisite.
Stayed in school. Listened to his mother, never drank or used. And every job he wants, he gets refused. It takes hope in a hopeless world. Looking for hope in a hopeless world. Trying to find love in such hateful times. Try to stay strong, but my mind is weak.
went out on a frigid morning, wasn't it? Thank you. As they make their way back to your seats, I'm going to invite you to settle into your seats, to put your feet on the floor, to breathe in and breathe out. I'm imagining you're a little bit relaxed already with that music going through your body. That's awesome. Just keeping breathing in and breathing out. And we'll be thinking about how hope lives in our bodies, how it expresses in our bodies, how our bodies can be hope embodied. I'm going to invite you to hold up your hands in front of you and really, really look at them. Are they smooth, or are they full of lines and creases? Are they rough or polished or soft? Are they strong, or maybe have the glory days of their power passed? Look closely and remember, what have these two hands done? Have they held on to another for balance, either to give or to receive? Have they cradled babies, painted rooms, cooked good food to share? Have they written postcards or held up protest signs? Have they cut hair or painted a picture, arranged flowers or clapped out a rhythm? Have they shoveled a neighbor's walk or planted seeds in a garden? Have they comforted a friend, encouraged a stranger? They say we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we might listen more than we speak. Yet we also have 2 hands and 1 heart. Perhaps to remember the unity of creation of which we are part, even as we give and receive with generosity and gratitude. These 2 hands bless the world, offering what is needed in this particular moment. Just imagine what these 2 hands can do. From this space of gathering, we recognize the joys and concerns of this congregation this week. Please make sure if something's going on in your life that you reach out and let us know so that we might support you or celebrate with you. Our love and sympathy go out this week to Christine Organ and her family. Her father passed away in Wisconsin this past week. We hold all of them in our hearts. We offer grateful thanks to our musicians and singers for bringing us beautiful music this morning. Such a blessing to the congregation. And for everybody who feels like we might be in the calm before the storm, we send love to surround our leaders, to remind them that they are part of an interconnected web of life, and that any harm that is sent out in the world invariably comes back. And we hold all those who will have their lives upended in the coming actions and send love into a wanting world. Finally, remember all those intentions which remain in the secret sanctuary of our hearts. Know that you are held and loved. Please join me in singing Spirit of Life.
This morning's reading is by Reverend William Barber. As we travel the country, we see things. That is why I'm so concerned about those that say so much about what God says so little, while saying so little about what God says so much. And so in my heart, I'm troubled, and I'm worried about the way faith is cynically used by some to serve hate, fear, racism, and greed. We need to heed the voice of the scriptures. We need to listen to the ancient chorus in which deep calls unto deep. The prophet Isaiah cries out, "What I'm interested in seeing you doing, says the Lord, as a nation, is pay people what they deserve. Share your food with the hungry. Do this, and then your nation shall be called a repairer of the breach." Jesus, a brown-skinned Palestinian Jew, called us to preach good news to the poor, the broken, and the bruised, and all those who are made to feel unaccepted. Our Constitution calls us to commit our government to establish peace, justice, to promote the general welfare, to provide for the common defense, and to ensure domestic tranquility. Now, to be true, we've never lived this vision perfectly, but this ought to be the goal at the heart of our democracy. And when religion is used to camouflage meanness, we know that we have a heart problem in America. There have always been forces that want to harden and even stop the heart of democracy. There have also always been people who stood together to assure what Sister Dorothy called the revolution of the heart, and what Dr. King called a radical revolution of values. Thus ends the reading.
Be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain seeking a home where he himself is free. America never was America to me. Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that great, strong land of love where never kings connive nor tyrants scheme, that any man be crushed by one above. It never was America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. There's never been equality for me, nor freedom in this homeland of the free. Say, who are you who mumbles in the dark? And who are you that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor white, fooled and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery's scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek and finding only the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. I am the young man full of strength and hope, tangled in that ancient endless chain of profit, power, gain, of grab the land, of grab the gold, of grab the ways of satisfying need, of work the men, of take the pay, of owning everything for one's own greed. I am the farmer, bondsman to the soil. I am the worker sold to the machine. I am the Negro, servant to you all. I am the people, humble, hungry, mean, hungry, yet today despite the dream, beaten, yet today, oh pioneers, I'm the man who never got ahead, the poorest worker bartered through the years. Yet I'm the one who dreamt our basic dream in the old world while still a serf of kings, that dreamt a dream so strong, so brave, so true, that even now its mighty daring sings in every furrow turned, in every brick and stone that's made America the land it has become. For I'm the one who sailed those early seas in search of what I meant to be my home. I'm the one who left dark Ireland's shore and England's grassy lay and Poland's plain, and torn from black Africa's strand I came to build a homeland of the free. The free? Who said the free? Not me, surely not me. The millions on relief today, the millions shot down when we strike, the millions who have nothing for our pay. For all the dreams we've The millions who have nothing for our pay except a dream that's almost dead today. Oh, let America be America again. The dream that never has been yet, and yet must be. The dream where every man is free. The land that's mine, the poor man's, Indians, Negroes, me. Who made America? Whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry, whose plow in the rain must bring back our mighty dream again. Sure, call me any ugly name you choose. The steel of freedom does not stain. From those who live like leeches on the people's lives, we must bring back our land again, America. Oh yes, I say it plain. America never was America to me. And yet I swear this oath, America will be. Out of the wreck and ruin of our gangster death, the rape and rot and graft of stealth and lies, we the people must redeem the land, the plants, the mines, the rivers, the mountains, the endless plain, all stretch of these great green states, and make America again. Langston Hughes.
After that, I have a comic to share with you. I think you might resonate a little bit. Hope you can see it. It's a person waking up, opening her computer, seeing what's going on, and then wanting to collapse in a heap. I know it resonated strongly with me. Here we are, on the third Sunday in January, celebrating the legacy of Reverend Dr. King, and also anticipating the inauguration of a new president tomorrow. The arc of the universe, which we want to believe bends towards justice, seems to have hit a rock and is like ricocheting off in the wrong direction. And many of us feel lost, maybe unmoored, like the world is out of control. And you know what? It is. But here's the thing. It never was in control to begin with. The illusion of control is actually inherent in the construct of whiteness. Because whiteness tells us that if we do everything right, if we garner enough money and power, if we somehow can get everything, all our ducks in a row, that we are going to be the masters of our own fate. I think life might just be showing us the error of our thinking. Because honestly, we are tiny specks in an infinite universe. Perhaps, just perhaps, we don't know as much as we think we do, and we're not nearly as powerful as we like to believe. In the West, we've had this onward and upward mentality, obscuring the reality that life and nature and the universe are all beyond anyone's control. So this may be our come to Jesus moment, where we figure out what is ours to do, what is not ours to do, and how we can live in right relationship with a wild and unpredictable world. That's a whole different way of being, isn't it? From how would it feel like if we actually gave up any idea that we can control? Langston Hughes' poem was amazing, spoken so eloquently by Abina. But it talks about coming into right relationship with what actually is, rather than what we have been able to believe if we want to create something better. First, we have to give up those illusions that we've held, because illusions that are easy to maintain when everything is going our way, right? And once we put our illusions aside, then we can realistically deal with what actually is. I mean, it's one thing people of color have been telling white people for a long time, isn't it? Yeah, you believe you live in a free world. Go ahead, keep believing that. And maybe we have to actually take a harder look now. So I'm going to say something that's probably controversial in Unitarian Universalist circles. Maybe our job is not to fix the world. Maybe, just maybe, we're called to love the world. And love begins as much in here as it does out there. We're the love people, right? That's what we say. That's what we say is the center of everything we decide is love. And today we honor and celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King, a man who embodies an ethic of love, of courage, and of vision. He was a man deeply connected to his God. Sometimes Unitarians skip over that part and focus on what he did rather than what motivated him. But you don't get courage and vision without being grounded in something much bigger than yourself. Dr. King was also a humble man, a man who faltered and who prayed, who was trying to provide for his family and who didn't feel often that he was enough. When he became the lead figure in Montgomery in the bus boycott, he began receiving as many as 40 death threats a day. And he wrote, "As the weeks passed, I began to see that many of the threats were in earnest. Soon I felt myself faltering and growing in fear. One day, a white friend told me that he had heard from reliable sources that plans were being made to end my life. For the first time, I realized that something could happen to me. It seemed that all my fears had come down on me at once. I reached the saturation point. I got out of bed and began to walk the floor. I was frustrated and bewildered. With my head in my hands, I bowed over the kitchen table and prayed aloud. The words I spoke to God that midnight are still vivid in my memory. Lord, I'm down here trying to do what's right. I'm trying to take a stand for what I believe is right. But Lord, I must confess, I'm weak now. I'm faltering. I'm losing my courage. I'm at the end of my power. I have nothing left. I've come to the point where I cannot face it alone." End quote. In his darkest hour, he was sustained by something larger than himself, something he called God. That power assured him that he wasn't alone, that he would be supported in going forward to the life that was calling him. And this is the Dr. King that speaks to me right now. That tired, worn-out, fearful man reaches through the decades and connects with my heart. Because he didn't set out to be the leader of a movement. He set out to serve God and to serve his fellow humans, and he said yes each time the movement asked him to continue moving forward. Now we have to step back and look. The world was in a particular moment back then, too. With the rise of television, people were just discovering a wider world out there. Everybody watched Walter Cronkite on the evening news every night. And Americans were just beginning to see the horrors happening in the South, the fire hoses and the German shepherds sicked on children, the elderly women thrown on the ground, the ugliness of whites-only signs and people being pushed to the backs of buses. And Dr. King stepped into the opportunity offered by the media, and he did it by paying attention, by listening to his God, and by doing what was in front of him. That kind of leadership might not be possible in our world today because it's so fractured, so broken apart. Everybody can choose whatever reality they want to pay attention to, and they can ignore the things they don't agree with. We had a reading from Dr. William Barber, who has his Moral Mondays lead, and he is a powerful, amazing speaker. He's very reminiscent of Dr. King, and he does not make it in the world at all the way Dr. King did in his moment in time. And I think we have to really pay attention to where we are right now. And we can't use tools that worked 50 years ago. We have to figure out what works today. So I've been wrestling with what traditional social justice and how it fits in my faith life today. Because you know what? I've seen its ugly side. I've seen its judgmental us versus them side, the one that cancels things like Laura Ingalls Wilder in Little House on the Prairie because she honestly reported her mother's racism in the books. So we just cancel them all and don't look at it to learn something from that time. Or the one that says Mark Twain can't be taught because of the words he used, even though his message was how ugly a racist society could be. Or one that judges historically progressive people not enough because they didn't act from today's lens of what's right. What's right? I think that's the biggest rub, isn't it? When we think we're right, it's okay to disrespect people who are wrong. When we're sure we're on the right side of history, we don't have to have empathy for the folks that we think are on the wrong side. I haven't experienced it here in this church, but it's definitely in our association. In fact, sometimes I feel like our religion has become a giant social justice movement rather than a faith community. And that's not what I signed up for. What do we have faith in? What calls us forward as a people? Dr. King held a faith in God that sustained him through terrible trials. He was flowing in and with the power of something much larger than his small human self. But often we Unitarian Universalists ignore that part of the story because many of us have had negative experiences with some flavor of Christianity, and we've totally rejected the notion of something larger. In modernity, it's been easy to believe that humans are the be-all and the end-all, and we can control so much of our life that we can feel like we don't need anything but ourselves. And that may be our downfall. That may be like one of the cells in our body deciding it's on its own and it can do it all by itself and the rest of the body doesn't need it. And I think that's the thing we forget, how deeply connected we are to the world, to each other, how we're part of something much bigger than ourselves. Because we're not omniscient, we're not all-powerful. We aren't even as good as the stories we tell sometimes. Because the world is not very pretty today. We've messed it up. I don't even have to tell you about that. You know it. In his time, Dr. King named the three big issues were racism, militarism, and consumerism. And we can just look. Militarism, consumerism have just kept on going. And racism just continues to change just enough to hold on, right? At its most basic iteration, racism is the belief and structure that gives one group of people more privilege and power than other groups, because of some meaningless characteristic. And America has a particularly virulent form of racism, but this feeling superior to other humans because of an intangible construct is kind of baked into our humanity. I mean, just look around the world. In Ireland, the Catholics versus the Protestants. In Israel, the Jews versus the Palestinians. In Nazi Germany, the Aryan race over the Jews and everybody else. In Nigeria, the Yoruba despised the Igbo. They're still literal untouchables in India. And then you could just imagine Muslim conflicts all across the world. It's hard to find any country that doesn't have one group that thinks it's better than some other group for some, inane reason. Humans like to believe that we are better than somebody else. It's in here, it's built in. And even though the reasons change, we find other ways to feel better than people. Sometimes it's just having more money, but it can be because we've studied the currently in vogue anti-racism books. Or it could be because we're vegan and eat only organic food. Or because we hang our clothes outside to dry. I mean, we find some way to feel superior over other people, no matter what we do. I mean, I do it. I'm not saying you do it, I'm saying I do it. And when we do that, I think it's because we've forgotten that we belong, that we matter, that we are interconnected, that we are like that one cell in our body that is dependent on everything else and still has to do its part. That we matter, and so does everybody else. We are all embedded in a flowing and constantly changing universe, not in control. And neither is anybody else. I mean, no matter how much they think they are. Think about Elon Musk for just a moment. Don't let it ruin your Sunday, but... Karen and I were listening to a comedian the other day named Josh Johnson. He's great, you would like him. And he was talking about the feud between Elon Musk and MAGA. And he's a young liberal black man. And he had this point that I thought was really salient. He said, even though Elon Musk has all the money, he may be the richest man in the whole planet. And even though he can do anything he wants and go anywhere he wants, he can never walk into a room and know that everybody there actually likes him. I mean, how could he? With all that power, he's invited to presidents. He will probably never, ever know himself as deeply connected to the flow of life, as truly loved and respected. It's sad, isn't it? We try so hard to gather as much stuff, money, power, influence, to feel in control. But that kind of control does not exist. Which is why sometimes I'm suspicious of social justice as it exists today. Because social justice can tell us we have to fix the world out there. Why? Because fixing out the world out there makes us feel better about ourselves. We are good. It's over there that needs to be changed. I know I'm questioning something that you think you might not hear on a MLK Sunday. But I'm not saying stop helping people, stop welcoming the stranger, stop living in right relationship with the earth, stop finding a way to make your corner of the earth more filled with love and care. I am not saying that. I'm simply asking that we always act from love and relationship, and we really take the moment to ask what love calls us to do. That we listen to that still small voice inside, and that we find something bigger than our own self to sustain us. This is the universe or God or humanity. Do your best to always maintain that connection in making the choices about what you're going to do. Because if you listen, you may be called to simply look out the window and appreciate nature. And if that's what you are called to, then go ahead and do that. And you may be called to do something really radical. And if you're called to that, go do that too. But what I'm saying is still first stop. Don't feel the urge and rush out to do something, because doing something makes us feel like we've done enough, Doing something makes us feel like it's okay. And sometimes we need that. Sometimes we just need to bake a pie for our next door neighbor, and that's going to help us. Sometimes writing out a stack of postcards is going to be good. But what I'm asking you to do is live in your life in this moment, right here. And I'm also going to say you have a lot of opportunities within this church. This church is in a pretty amazing place. I mean, it's been in relationship with 3 community partners for over a decade. They are Faith in Place, Illinois Community for Displaced Immigrants, known as ICDI, and Partners for Our Communities, POC. And these do environmental work, they do immigrant support work, they have food pantries, they teach ESL classes. They have so many hands-on ways to be offering love to this world. So don't think we're not doing anything, because we're doing things. And also, don't even forget about the Chalice House. I mean, the Chalice House offers homes for immigrants who have come into this country, and it's supported by a whole coalition of churches and faith institutions. We're doing stuff. It's a hands-on way to support people, and an avenue for bringing that love that you have overflowing in your heart that you want to put somewhere. And then there's pads, meals that you can cook for unhoused folks. There's people writing letters to incarcerated individuals. There's groups that go to the food depository regularly. There's collections of gift cards and drop-in space for trans youth. There's our own community garden out there. There's been a sense that social justice is broken at Countryside and that we don't do enough. I think that's kind of crazy. But I think it's doing something with your heart and doing something intentionally and doing something in relationship with people that you have created those relationships with. They don't stop mattering because they've been going on for a while. They're still important. We don't need something new and fancy in order to live into our basic commitment to being in right relationship. So there is a sense, like that comic said in the beginning, when everything is just flowing at us, that we should be doing something more or less or something. But what I'm going to ask is that we do that quote from Bayo Akomolafe that says, "The times are urgent. Let us slow down. Let us take a breath together. 20-plus people met last week to reconstitute the structure of the social justice ministry in this church so that folks can more easily and effectively know and get connected to all these good things that are going on. It might just be that there's so much going on that we can't hear what was actually there all along. And there's a lot of anxiety going around right now, especially about the threats to immigrants. And this is real. And CCU leadership is paying attention and trying to figure out what our response as a congregation might be. And opportunities will be shared. But sometimes the answer has to be nothing. Because we cannot fix all of the problems in the world. And if we're rushing around trying to fix all of them, guess what? We'll do none of them. So I'm going to say that Dr. King paid attention and listened to his God and answered what the moment was in front of him. When he happened to be called to Montgomery and there happened to be a bus boycott, he did what was in front of him. And so you know what my biggest call is for you today? It's a hard one. Read your darn church newsletter. It's harder than it sounds. I know I don't always open it. But there's a lot going on that's close to your heart. There's a lot going on that might actually give you something that calls to you to actually do. So stay informed, pay attention, make space in your life to listen to your own still small voice, not the anxiety blaring from whichever screen is in the room, not the people that you know that are doing their best chicken little impressions, running around screaming the sky is falling. It could be bad, and we might be asked to do things that are harder than we really want to do. But the first thing we have to do is be grounded in ourselves and solid and figure out what we have to offer and how we can give that genuinely, generously, kindly, and compassionately. And then act with a heart full of love. We're not going to be able to fix the world, but we can make our corner of it more loving and more kind. And that may be the best any of us will ever do. Amen, and blessed be.
The policemen have thrown away their guns. They kiss their sons and their daughters, and their souls are at peace. No more black boys, black girls, trans women die. No more reasons that could ever justify their loss. And mothers send their teens out at night to breathe the sweet summer air and exhale on the ground. The earth was made for them. The earth is made for them. She is on her way. On her way. She is on her way. On her way. And no one can be silent anymore. Every death is a death that my family mourns. We've traded in our numbness and all of our fear to fight for the lives we now hold dear. And everyone has come to greet the reckoning. The place where our hearts got smaller and smaller now grows to hold the pain. The brokenness that leads to change. She is on her way. On her way. On her way, on her way. In other words, not only possible, on a quiet day, I can hear her breathing. In other words, not only possible, on a quiet day, I can hear her breathing. In we have each other and what that means. We'll finally get to be together, stare with our hearts at what has been and find some place of home, and find some place of home. She is on her way, on her way. She is on her way, on her way. She's on her way, on her way. She is on her way, on her way.
Please join in saying our closing words together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of its truth, the warmth of this community, nor the fire of our commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with all the world.
Come now, fount of every blessing, tune our hearts to sing thy praise. Streams of mercy never ceasing, all for songs of loudest praise. Now the hope of its perfection fills our hearts with joy and love. Teach us never to be faithful, may we still thy goodness do. Every day, with our eyes to what may come, see the light and the light, and take
Please be seated. Our final words are from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And he writes, "Everybody can be great because everybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and your verb agree to serve, thank goodness. You don't need a heart full of grace. All you need is a soul generated by love. And you can offer music, as was so beautifully offered today. Go out, love, listen, be yourselves in this world. You will be enough."
We all have songs, we all have stories, we all have good times and times when things go wrong. And that's life, the heartache
Have a good day.